Did you know the pyramids of Egypt may not have been built just as tombs? For thousands of years, stories have told of secret schools hidden beneath the temples and stone passageways, places where pharaohs and high priests prepared for something far greater than ruling on earth. They were trained to walk in the realm of the gods. But what really happened inside these hidden chambers? What kind of knowledge was so dangerous it had to be locked away in stone? And most importantly, what did the pharaohs learn that ordinary people were never meant to know? We'll find out together in this new episode of Secret Origins. Welcome. For thousands of years, the pyramids of Egypt have amazed people from every corner of the world. Most of us grew up believing they were only tombs for pharaohs. But old legends tell a different story. They speak of secret chambers and hidden hallways deep under the temples and pyramids. These places, according to the stories, were not made for burial. They were built for learning and for transformation. Only a few could enter. Pharaohs, high priests, and sometimes the most trusted scribes were chosen. For them, the hidden schools were not about reading and writing. They were about preparing for something greater. The goal was nothing less than becoming like a god in the afterlife. Imagine stepping into a dark passage, knowing that each challenge inside was meant to change not just your mind, but your soul. We know of these teachings thanks to an ancient writer named Clement of Alexandria. He lived in Egypt during Roman times, long after the pyramids were built. Clement described 42 sacred books used by the priests of Egypt. These books, he said, contained everything: their philosophy, their science, their rituals, their knowledge of the stars, of medicine, and of the gods. But could these books be the curriculum of the secret schools beneath the stone? Modern archaeology is beginning to reveal clues that match these legends. In 2017, scientists used advanced scanning technology on the Great Pyramid of Giza. What they found were large, mysterious voids hidden inside the pyramid. The purpose of these spaces is still unknown, but some believe they may have been special rooms for powerful rituals of death and rebirth. Even more dramatic is what was found beneath the step pyramid of Saqqara. There, archaeologists uncovered over 5 kilometers of underground tunnels and chambers. Many of the passages were false, designed to confuse anyone who entered. Some scholars now believe this labyrinth was not only a tomb, but also a place of spiritual training. To survive, people had to learn to master fear and to guide themselves in the dark. In 2025, archaeologists uncovered a massive 3,600-year-old tomb near Abydos, one of Egypt's holiest cities. But of course, many believe this is more than just an ordinary burial site. Abydos was already known as the burial place of kings and the center of the cult of Osiris, god of the dead. The discovery suggests that Abydos may still hold many untold secrets, and that its role in ancient Egypt was even more significant than previously thought. But these discoveries leave us with a deeper question. Why would the Egyptians go to such lengths to hide these places? What kind of training was so secret and so powerful that it had to be buried under tons of stone? And of course, what exactly did they learn in these schools? Perhaps the answer lies in the very heart of their belief system. The ancient Egyptians believed that life did not end with death. To them, death was an entrance into another, much larger journey. They imagined the afterlife as a vast, mysterious realm called the Duat. This underworld was a complicated world filled with rivers of fire, endless caverns, and gates guarded by terrifying beings. Demons with animal heads, giant serpents that spat flames, and creatures with blades instead of hands were said to stand watch at every passage. The Duat was divided into 12 great sections, sometimes described as gates or caverns, each ruled by its own guardians. To pass through these gates, the soul needed special knowledge in the form of secret words, names of spirits, and magical formulas. Without these, the journey would end in disaster. The Egyptians believed that even the gods themselves had to respect the laws of the Duat. But here is where the story becomes even more fascinating. The Egyptians did not wait until death to learn the path. Pharaohs, high priests, and initiates of the mystery schools were trained to walk the Duat while still alive. They memorized entire scrolls of instructions, most famously the Book of the Dead, which was known to them as the Book of Coming Forth by Day. These texts described a soul standing before a massive gate, facing a guardian who demanded the exact words to let them pass. Speaking the secret password opened the way, granting safe passage deeper into the Duat. A demon with blazing eyes stopped in its tracks when the traveler recited a spell that placed it back under divine order. A serpent made of fire curled away when its sacred name was spoken aloud, forced to retreat into darkness. Each encounter rewarded precision, courage, and mastery of the rituals. Knowing the right words moved the traveler forward through the 12 gates, past lakes of fire and countless dangers until they reached the final court of Osiris. But why would they study this path before dying? The Egyptians believed that preparation was everything. Only those who mastered the secrets of the Duat while alive could hope to survive its dangers after death. To them, immortality was a skill to be learned. One of the most striking pieces of evidence comes from the Papyrus of Ani, one of the most complete copies of the Book of the Dead. In it, we see Ani, a royal scribe, standing before the god Osiris. His heart is being weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and order. If his heart was heavier than the feather, weighed down by sin or dishonesty, it would be devoured by Amduat, a monster part lion, part hippopotamus, and part crocodile. But if his heart was pure, Ani would be allowed to pass into the eternal fields of peace. This image captures the central idea of the Egyptian afterlife. Survival depended on preparation, on purity, and on knowing the right knowledge at the right time. And as you know, the Egyptians went further than almost any other culture in these preparations. Their priests developed entire rituals to rehearse death. In chambers deep beneath temples, initiates would lie in coffins or in dark rooms, reciting the words of the Book of the Dead, as if already crossing into the Duat. The goal was not to pretend, but to truly separate the soul from the body for a time. And as you will soon see, there is some evidence that the ancient Egyptians may have actually succeeded in doing this physically. For the ancient Egyptians, knowledge alone was not enough. The body also had to be prepared. They believed the soul was made of many parts, but the three most important were the Ka, or life force, the Ba, or personality, and the Ak, the spirit of light. For these to reunite in the afterlife, the physical body had to remain intact. If the body decayed, the soul would be lost. This is why mummification was not simply preservation, but a whole spiritual technology. By carefully drying, wrapping, and protecting the body, the priests were building a vessel that could last for thousands of years. Every step of the process was filled with meaning. The ritual of opening the mouth was one of the most sacred. After the body was wrapped, priests would touch the lips and eyes of the mummy with special tools, symbolically restoring the ability to eat, drink, see, and speak in the afterlife. Another important detail is that the heart was always left in place. Unlike the brain, which was often removed, the heart was seen as the true seat of thought and consciousness. This shows us how differently the Egyptians viewed the human being. For them, memory, identity, and judgment all lived in the heart. And since the heart would one day be weighed in the halls of Osiris, it had to stay with the body. Even the choice of resins and wrappings had meaning. The materials slowed decay, but they also symbolized purity and divine protection. The body became something like a battery, charged to keep the connection between soul and flesh alive across dimensions. Some scholars even argue that the pyramids themselves, aligned with the stars, acted as amplifiers of this process. But what if the whole practice of mummification was not about death at all, but about keeping the soul active and present, able to cross between worlds? Think about it. These bodies have lasted for over 3,000 years. When you stand in front of a mummy today, you are looking at a person who believed they would need that same body to live again. It's clear just how advanced the ancient Egyptians were, and it's no surprise that many today believe they possessed a high level of consciousness, operating on higher frequencies. This included training the mind in ways that were nothing short of extraordinary for their time, over 5,000 years ago, while our science is only now beginning to uncover such possibilities. But what exactly were they capable of? We mentioned earlier the separation of the soul from the body. In the hidden chambers beneath Egypt's temples, students of the mystery schools were trained to leave their physical form willingly, traveling in what they described as the car to faraway lands, to sacred sites, and even to realms beyond the living. The idea sounded simple, but mastering it took years of discipline. What was meant to happen during astral projection began with stillness. The body had to be perfectly at rest, every muscle relaxed, every breath slow and steady. This stillness was the anchor that kept the body safe while the soul prepared to move. Only then could the conscious self begin its journey, slipping gently away from the physical shell. With the body secure, the traveler could drift into unseen spaces, crossing vast distances without taking a single physical step. Some accounts speak of initiates visiting temples hundreds of miles away and returning with knowledge they could not have seen with their own eyes. Modern researchers sometimes compare this to what we call out-of-body experiences, or remote viewing. There are experiments from the late 20th century, such as those funded by the US military, where participants claim to describe secret facilities in other countries without ever leaving a locked room. Whether coincidence or unexplained perception, the similarity to the Egyptian accounts is hard to ignore. Maybe this doesn't sound so impossible, but remember, the ancient Egyptians lived over 5,000 years ago, at a time when many other civilizations were still learning to build simple mud brick houses. If it's true that they could master something like astral projection, that's astonishing, because even today, science struggles to fully understand or reproduce it. Recent neuroscience experiments use virtual reality, sensory manipulation, and brain stimulation to create the feeling of floating outside yourself. The Egyptians, on the other hand, without wires or machines, used sound, rhythm, and deep meditation to achieve something similar, or perhaps something far more real. Even today, scientists explore how rest, sound, and stillness shape the mind. But of course, for those of us not training in ancient temples, mastering stillness begins with something much simpler: quality rest. This episode is sponsored by Manta Sleep, creators of the Manta Sound Sleep Mask, designed for deep, uninterrupted rest with 100% blackout and integrated Bluetooth speakers that surround you in calming sound. Each detail is built for comfort: zero pressure on the eyes, fully adjustable fit, and a premium breathable design that feels weightless even during long naps. What makes the Manta Sound unique is its integrated Bluetooth speakers, ultra-thin and adjustable inside the strap, letting you drift into deep rest with soothing music, guided meditations, or even ambient frequencies like the ancient tones of Egypt itself. Whether you need a full night's sleep or just a midday recharge, Manta Sleep helps you do what the Egyptians once trained for: reconnect mind and body through true rest. Visit mantasleep.com and use our code SECRET10 for 10% off. Once initiates could travel beyond their bodies, their training moved toward the next step: speaking with those who no longer walked the earth. We already mentioned that in their view, death was not the end. It was just a change of state. So it's no surprise that the ancient Egyptians believed the dead could still speak, guide, or even warn the living. Egyptian ritual texts speak of entering halls filled with the voices of the departed. These were not random whispers, but intentional conversations. The traveler might seek out an ancestor for advice, a deceased high priest for hidden knowledge, or even a god for divine instruction. This is where modern parallels get interesting. Mediumship and channeling, where a living person conveys messages from spirits, have been studied in controlled settings. In some cases, the person shares verifiable information they could not have known. Scientists remain divided, with some pointing to subconscious memory, others to unexplained phenomena. But the idea that thoughts can pass from one mind to another, across distance, or even across the boundary of life and death, continues to fascinate. But how did the Egyptians achieve this, and was it really possible? The Egyptians knew that the human mind could be influenced not only by what it saw, but by what it heard, and more importantly, by what it felt. Sound was one of their most powerful tools. In the quiet halls of their temples, priests used deep, resonant chants that would roll through the stone walls and echo in long, vibrating waves. These vibrations were felt in the chest, in the bones, even in the skull. Modern science has confirmed something remarkable. Certain sound frequencies, such as 432 Hz and 528 Hz, can create strong resonance in both air and solid matter. They can cause water to ripple, stone to hum, and even influence brain activity. Scientists today call this brainwave entrainment, a process where sound gently guides the brain into specific states, deep relaxation, dreamlike imagery, or intense focus. For the ancient Egyptians, reaching these states may have been the entire point. They were creating a controlled environment where the mind could shift into a higher state of awareness. In modern terms, this is similar to meditation, breathwork, or certain sound therapies used today to lower stress, sharpen focus, or even trigger vivid mental visions. The Egyptians believed that in these states, a person could more easily receive messages from their own higher self, from the spirits of the dead, or even from divine beings, and the way they did it was truly incredible. Archaeologists and acoustic engineers studying ancient temples, such as the Temple of Hathor at Dendera and the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber, have found that their architecture naturally amplifies certain sound frequencies. The chambers act almost like musical instruments, turning a single voice or drum beat into a deep, rolling vibration that seems to come from all directions at once. Many believe this was their method for reaching a higher vibrating state, a condition where the body is calm, but the mind feels open and expansive, as if tuned to a different channel. Today, people try to achieve this through meditation, sound baths, or special breathing techniques. In ancient Egypt, the temples themselves were the instruments, and the priests were the conductors. Some researchers suggest that in this heightened state, the Egyptians believed they could communicate with beings not from our world, what we might today call extraterrestrials. This could, they argue, explain why Egypt seemed so advanced for its time, with knowledge of astronomy, engineering, and medicine that feels centuries ahead. Others believe the voices they sought were not alien, but ancient, coming from civilizations long vanished, for example, Atlantis. According to this theory, the Egyptians inherited fragments of wisdom from a people who lived before the great floods, carrying forward their understanding of the stars, sacred geometry, and spiritual science. Whether you believe in otherworldly visitors or forgotten civilizations, there's a good chance that sound was their bridge, the key to shifting consciousness and opening doors to realms beyond the ordinary senses. Some believe that those who succeeded here were invited to attempt something far more dangerous, rehearsing their own death. And where would this take place? Most of you can probably guess. The King's Chamber, hidden deep within the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza, was first entered in modern times in the early 19th century, when explorers forced their way through ancient passageways blocked for centuries. It sits at the very center of the pyramid structure, perfectly aligned on the north-south axis, and is constructed entirely of massive granite blocks, some weighing over 70 tons. The room measures roughly 10.5 meters by 5.2 meters, with a height of about 5.8 meters. At first, scholars assumed it was simply a burial chamber for Pharaoh Khufu, the pyramid's builder. Yet no treasures, no mummies, and none of the usual signs of a royal burial were ever found there. This fact has led many to wonder whether its true purpose was something far different from what history books tell us. But recent acoustic studies have revealed something remarkable. When someone makes a sound in the King's Chamber, even just a hum, the room itself starts to sing back at a special low tone, about 117 times per second. For a stone room this big, that's surprisingly high, and it's very close to vibrations that many people today think can be good for the mind and body. This happens because the granite walls are very dense, and the shape of the room makes the sound bounce in a special way. These kinds of tones are known today to sometimes affect how the brain works and how we feel. Such findings give weight to long-standing theories that the space was designed not only for physical functions, but also for experiences meant to affect the mind, suggesting the ancient builders understood properties of sound and stone that modern science is only now beginning to confirm. And on top of that, the Great Pyramid was not placed at random. Its alignment and proportions reveal a deep understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and the natural world. The structure is oriented to true north, with an error margin of less than 0.05 degrees, a feat that even modern builders find challenging without advanced tools. This accuracy suggests they were using methods far beyond simple sightlines, possibly relying on precise astronomical observations of the stars. Many researchers have noted that the three main pyramids mirror the positions of the stars in Orion's belt. In ancient Egyptian belief, Orion was linked to Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, was associated with the goddess Isis. The rising of Sirius each year marked the flooding of the Nile, an event critical for agriculture. By aligning their monuments with these celestial markers, the Egyptians not only honored their gods, but may have synchronized their architecture with natural cycles. Sacred geometry played a key role in their designs. Ratios like the golden section, 1 to 1.618, appear in the pyramid's dimensions, as do proportional relationships found in the Ankh, the ancient symbol of life. These ratios reflect patterns found in nature, from seashell spirals to the way plants grow, and it doesn't stop there. The pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious writings on Earth, describe the pharaoh's journey to the stars, using the pyramid as a kind of cosmic launch point. Scholars have also found that the Egyptians understood the precession of the equinoxes, a slow shift in the Earth's axis that changes the position of the stars over thousands of years. This knowledge would have required centuries of careful observation. Beyond astronomy, their mastery extended into engineering and material science. The precision cutting of multi-ton limestone and granite blocks, the transport of these stones from quarries miles away, and the seamless fitting of each piece, all without mortar, remain astonishing. They also demonstrated advanced hydrological knowledge. Some theories suggest the internal shafts and passages of the pyramids could have interacted with groundwater to generate energy or sound, creating an environment for altered states of consciousness. While still debated, This aligns with their apparent use of acoustic resonance in other temples, such as the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. Mathematics underpinned all of these achievements. They calculated slopes, volumes, and alignments with remarkable accuracy. Some measurements in the Great Pyramid correspond to the Earth's circumference and the length of the solar year when converted into certain units, leading to speculation that they held a level of geodetic knowledge that would not appear again for millennia. And because of all this, it really seems like the ancient Egyptians did nothing by accident. Suddenly, the idea that advanced consciousness techniques were once widely practiced doesn't seem so far-fetched. But you're probably wondering, why can't we say for sure that such practices and secret knowledge really existed and came from the ancient Egyptians? Well, many believe the answer lies in the Book of Thoth. Ancient writings describe this book as a record of the highest knowledge, teachings said to grant mastery over cosmic cycles, the hidden forces of nature, and even the powers of the human mind. The story goes that only the most disciplined and morally pure initiates could study it, because one mistake in its application could destroy not only the practitioner, but everyone around them. By the 19th and 20th centuries, occultists and members of the Theosophical movement began to weave their own theories around the book. They claimed the original text may have been deliberately hidden or destroyed perhaps by Egypt's own priesthood, or later by Greek, Roman, or even church authorities to prevent its secrets from spreading. According to them, this was protection against knowledge that could lift humanity to higher states of consciousness, or plunge it into chaos. Some researchers and writers suggest that parts of this knowledge may have survived in fragments, preserved in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, while the rest was lost through intentional destruction or passed down only in secret circles. If true, it means that the most powerful chapters of Egypt's wisdom never reached the public. So, what do you think? Did the ancient Egyptians truly master a hidden spiritual technology, a way to shape the mind, body, and soul to reach higher states of being? Or have we only uncovered fragments of a far greater system, now lost to time? Whatever the answer, maybe one day we'll unlock the full extent of their knowledge. But until then, we can only wonder, do we truly deserve to call ourselves an advanced civilization, when all signs suggest they may have been far ahead of us? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and if you believe more people should discover Egypt's secrets, give this video a thumbs up to help spread the word. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.